Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time. This is the last section of the first half of games before we start really rocking and rolling with the great ones. Let's see. For this 10, I got two new ones, one that surprisingly stayed the same, and then 3 fell and 3 rose. It's kind of all over the place on this one.
I have 5 rows, 5 fell.
All right.
Just like last segment.
Yeah, so it looks like I'm more cult of the new than you are.
You'll see it that my next 50, there's going to be more new ones.
A bunch of new ones. Gotcha. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started with number 60. It has fallen quite a bit, and this is just for some reason I never play this game. It was 35 last year, and then it was 28 in 2020, so it just keeps kind of slipping. I don't ever see this game coming off of my top 100, but like it's going to be one of those that if I play it, it's probably going to be super high. If I don't, it's going to be around here. And it is, boom.
Yeah.
Blood Rage. With that old Cool Mini or Not logo. But yeah, this was the first game I want to say that kind of brought Eric Lang on the map. I don't know if it was his first design game.
It wasn't. Chaos in the Old World was his first big
that's right.
Dudes on the Map thing.
That's right. And I have played Chaos in the Old World, but it's been so long I don't really remember it. I used to have a copy, and I kind of wish I still had one just just for, financial reasons. But yeah, Blood Rage is the first in that trilogy, this being 1, then Rising Sun, and Ankh. And yeah, I remember when this came out, and it was like, oh my God, like the hype around it. I feel like you just don't really see that kind of hype anymore just because there's always new Kickstarters. But this game is still extremely solid. Like everyone has their own Viking board. It's one where everyone starts the same, and from the first draft, because it's a card drafting game, everyone immediately is playing differently. You can utilize different god strategies, Thor being like really big into battle, Loki being big about like death, Tyr being like special ways to score. And then it was just that first one that, well, I mean, there was Komet as well, but that had like, hey, here's my monster, and this is only gonna be my monster, and just this big, awesome area control game where combat wasn't like a die roll. So I mean, this game is still a masterpiece. I'm pretty sure I still have it like ranked like highly. Yeah, this came out, oh my God, this came out 8 years ago, dude.
I know. Well, that's what I was going to say, because this was on Kickstarter. I remember this. The base pledge for this was $75, and then you had the add-ons. I think I ended up paying like 125 total to get everything for it. Now it's
man,
that's like base pledge for a lot of Kickstarters now.
Yeah. Oh man, how times have changed, which I mean, of course, makes sense. But yeah, Simon would rather be caught dead before making another Kickstarter for that cheap. And yeah, I mean, it's just extremely clean. Like the way that the ages work is just, hey, draft cards, and then you go to the next phase of your playing them, spending rage to build up, and then trying to control certain areas. Like this is actually one that the expansions I thought were the weakest. The Mystic one was kind of nice because it allowed people to not kind of just turtle up in one area, because you can use your Mystic and have them just infiltrate. But yeah, it's a very, very solid one. I need to try and get this played this year just because I just need to. I have everything for it.
I need to play it as well.
Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, this also did one of those cool things where the board shrunk as time went on because it was Ragnarok. So, but you knew exactly where Ragnarok was going to be, and now it's a valid strategy. And yeah, so it just kind of made the board a little bit tighter, so it enticed combat. Yeah, this one is just insanely good. So that's my number 60, Blood Rage.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go from that big game to my number 60, which is a smaller game. It was kind of the first in its line of games to take 16 cards and turn it
Oh,
into a game that was super fun, ultimately replayable, and that is Love Letter. This is one that it was 47 last year, 49 before that, 62 before that, so it just kind of hangs around in this area. This is such a simple game, but such a fun game that my family and I play constantly. Like I said before, I'm either on I think I'm on my third or fourth copy of this game now, just because of wear and tear and everything.
dang.
Because we play it a lot. Like whenever we go on a trip, or it comes with us and is played in the hotel constantly.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, it's pretty simplistic. There's only like 9 different kinds of cards, I believe. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. There's 10 different kinds of cards, but there's a few different copies of each, throughout that deck. And you draw a card, you play a card, and your whole goal is to be the last one in the game that has a card in hand, because pretty much there's different abilities on the cards that will make you have to discard cards, and if you have to discard the card that's in your hand, you're out.
Mhm.
Depending on the player count, there's a certain number of you have to win a certain number of rounds to ultimately win the game. The theme of this game, there really isn't a whole lot. I mean, that's why it's been like rethemed, 500 different ways with like Batman, Lord of the Rings, all this crap.
Yeah.
This one, you're trying to pass a love letter to the princess or something like that, but ultimately,
Yeah, whatever the theme is, who
yeah,
knows?
but ultimately, it's just you're trying to gamify the deal with, because each card has a special ability to try to get somebody else to discard their card. I mean, that's ultimately what you're trying to be.
Mm.
Super, super simple, but super just fun, I think. I mean, it's just one of those games you can just throw down and be done with it in no time, and rounds don't
And
take
it's
hardly at all, and it's
I don't
just
feel like it's random either. That's
mm-mm.
kind of the cool thing is that, like you can actually utilize some deduction to to figure out who has what. But
Well,
there
and
also could be a guess. Like you can play a guard and be like,
mhm,
I don't know, Prince.
right.
It's like, yep, I guess I'm out, but this is like the whole game because you're supposed to have like what, 3 cubes or something.
Yeah, it all depends on player count.
Okay.
Depends on how many, so if you're playing a 3-player game, it's 3, but I think it just changes depending on the number of players. There's a premier edition of this, a premium edition of this that has the tarot cards, kind of like the one that because you have the Cthulhu version of this, the
Yeah.
Lovecraft. And
Hmm.
I want to get it, but I can't. It's out of print. I can't find it anywhere. The premiere of
Oh,
this,
okay.
because it comes with that. Plus, it gives you secondary roles for each number,
Hmm.
so it kind of gives you that replayability that way as well.
Yep.
But I hope it comes back into print or whatever, because right now it's extremely expensive. At least, I mean, I
Nice.
looked recently, but so I'm just kind of like just waiting for that to pop back up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 60, Love Letter.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one. I don't have the original anymore. I just kept the Lovecraft letter.
Mhm.
Because it's basically that, just with, like you said, alternate roles. Okay, my number 59. This is a game that both you and I really like. And we're actually probably gonna start a tournament of this soon, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully better than our Dice Throne tournament. And this one actually fell quite a bit. It was 39 last year. Never mind. But it fell 20 spots, and in 2020 it was 40. And that's also mainly because I can only play this with one other person, and normally I don't like teach these kinds of games to other people just because I mean there's a niche market for these kinds of games, but this one's fantastic, and that is Sorcerer, uh, by uh, Peter Schultz and Robert Daugherty. This is a 1v1 like area control, like card combining uh like card game where you take a domain, you take a sorcerer, a domain, and a lineage, which there's a bunch of different options to choose from of how each of these those decks play, and you shuffle them together. So you have like, I think it's just like a 60 card deck. And you have these locations out in the middle of the board that you're trying to basically control. Like you win if you control 2 out of the 3. And these cards have like typical, fighting abilities that you would see in most of these kind of card games like Magic the Gathering. So the top left is like your mana cost, and then you just have like special like combat abilities or attachments that you can put on cards. But the fascinating part of this entire game is the deck construction. Like it's not just, okay, here's, a million cards, like put them all together and see if your deck works. You just pick one from each of those 3 categories, shuffle it, and see how well they synergize. It's fascinating. Like the fact that it's also not a traditional one where it's just draw your hand of 7 and then at the beginning of every turn you just draw a card and hope you get what you get. You have like action points that you can spend. Be like, okay, well, I really need mana, so I'm gonna spend 3 of my action points and gain mana. I'm not drawing what I want, so I'm gonna spend an action to draw a card. And I really like that. Like I think that gives a lot of agency and strategy instead of you build because a lot of those games like Magic, for example, if you want to be able to draw more than just your standard 1 per turn, you have to construct your deck in a way that allows you to do so.
Right.
And here you don't have to. Like it's built into the core system of how you're gonna, utilize your cards. It's not hard. You don't have to wait 7 turns, for example, to build up 7 mana and spend it. You can just take actions, your limited actions, but still you have that agency to be able to do so. I mean, it's brilliant. Like obviously the only thing about this game is the fact that you roll dice for combat, and like you're just trying to get hits or crits, and then like your opponent can use the omen tokens to make you re-roll. It's not the best, it's the simplest form, but at least you have ways to re-roll. And if you do get crits, then like there is some kind of decision there on it's like because crits allow you as the person dealing damage to decide where it goes versus every other type of damage. Your opponent can be like, okay, I'll put it on this enemy and then I'll put some on the base. So it's at least it's not just literally roll and just see what happens, but it is the weakest form. I would have liked it to be a little bit more complex. But who knows? Like, I mean, the complexity comes from making sure that those decks are all balanced.
Yeah.
And eventually we will get our Kickstarter for the co-op
Endbringer.
the Endbringer, the solo co-op expansion. So I wonder, I haven't looked into it in quite some time, but I wonder if they like modified combat in any way.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Probably not, because that would probably require them to reprint a bunch of cards if they had to, so maybe not. But yeah, this one is amazing. Like I really like it. I'm very excited for our tournament to start. And that's actually going to be weird because there's not an even number of each of the decks. Like there's not an even number of sorcerers, domains, and lineages. So I had to like weirdly combine them, and it's like, okay, I think lineages had the least amount of overall decks. So I think there's kind of like I just went with that because I didn't want to do any repeats. So and obviously that one is just more just to play this game a lot with the tournament instead of kind of trying to figure out, okay, which one of these is the best. Then again, I mean, Dice Throne was also more of just to play it because it's so random that like one game Black Widow could have won and the other one, I mean, and ours she didn't. So it's like, okay, well, this doesn't really prove who is like if any of these are better than the other.
I guess we better go back and do a best of 3 for everybody on Dice Throne, huh?
Oh God, no, I can't, man. I can't. I'd be so miserable.
No, this one, it's a good thing. I'm excited to get back to it because when this game came out at Origins 2019, I was one of the main demoers for this. We had a whole team of demoers, and I went through so many games of this that I kind of was just getting tired of it after a while. You do
Oh yeah.
4 days of just playing this or Star Realms. It's like
Yeah. Oh God.
and
Yeah.
keeps and stuff. It just wears on you. But I haven't even touched this game since you and I played it back in when you lived in Clinton, I think.
Oh God.
And that's
Yeah.
been a lot. That's been the last time I played it when you whooped me with the lichens and all that stuff. But
What can I say? I'm just the best.
so I'm looking forward to get back into it since I've been away from it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough to demo at a convention. There's not a single game I love enough to show hundreds of people the same game over and over and listen to them ask me the same dumb fucking question over and over. So how
Yep.
do I draw? Are you
Yep.
kidding me? It's a video from Prod Z. So what are cards?
Right.
What
Exactly.
are cards? I get fucking escorted out of the building. But yeah, this one I highly recommend if you're into Magic or any type of competitive deck, like 1v1 card games. This one is really a hidden gem. Like I do truly feel like it flew under the radar and not something you would see from. I mean, I guess Wise Wizard games, yeah, you do see the head-to-head combat, but nothing of this like style, especially art-wise.
Right.
So yeah, highly recommend it. That's my number 59, Sorcerer.
And I think it'll hit back in the mainstream once the Endbringer comes out. I think just because
Yeah.
co-op and solo is a big thing right now, so that'll get them in more. All right,
Yeah, that's true.
my number 59. I didn't say it was a new game because it's not a new game from this year, but it's the first time it's hit this list, even though it's an old game. So I guess you can kind of however you want to say it. It was 140. It was 145 on my list last year.
Oh wow.
And it's going all the way up to 59 this year.
Wow, dang.
And I don't even own this. I've played it. I'm looking for a copy of it, but I've played it 3 times this year with one of my other groups, and it's just a blast to play it. And that is Last Will.
Dang. Okay.
Have you ever played this one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. This one is kind of like Brewster's Millions, the board game. Pretty much the theme of this is you have a really rich uncle. He is giving you he's giving all these millions of dollars to the nephew who can spend the most money, I guess. So you're trying to get his fortune. So you start off with a big amount of money at the beginning, and you win if you spend it all.
Okay.
So the whole point of this is you're getting all these cards, and when you play the cards down, those are how many actions you can take in a turn. And every card that you play or stuff that you do, every action you take costs money, but you're trying to spend it the fastest you can throughout the game, because the game ends when one person declares bankruptcy and has spent all their money. And that's the winner. So it's like it's an interesting like flip on that scale, because usually the most wins. This one you're trying to spend everything, so you're like taking your horse out to dinner at a fancy restaurant, or doing all these stupid things. And there's all these there's a property track for the property market and stuff, and you can add board extensions which let you play more cards to have more actions and spend more money on your turn and stuff like that. There's an expansion for it as well. So there's this is just one of those. It's a CGE game. It's an early CGE game. I think it was a 2011, I believe, 2010, 2011, something like that. And it's just one of those. It's just a funny one because there's funny funny stuff that happens with the cards, because you're just doing stupid shit to try to spend as much money as you can.
Yeah.
And I I owned it a long time ago before I was really into these kind of games, and I got rid of it. And
Mm-hmm.
now this is kind of more my wheelhouse, and
Sure.
it's a blast of a game. So I'm
Yeah.
trying.
It's definitely one that I've wanted to try, just because it does sound like it'd be a lot of fun, and it's CGE, so you almost can't go wrong.
Yeah, almost. But so if you have no money or no properties left, then that's what signifies the end game.
Okay.
And then you finish up that round. Uh, Otherwise, I mean, because it doesn't overstay its welcome either. Because if you're playing with people and then guys just aren't spending money that fast, the game will end after 7 rounds as well. And then
Nice.
whoever
Okay.
spent the most money is the winner.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah,
Neat.
this is one that's, if I can keep getting it played, it's probably going to stay up pretty high because it's a blast to play for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a major, major jump. Said you were looking for a copy.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
Oh
really
man.
like super quick, like
Yeah.
I know it's out there. I just haven't. It's not out of print or anything. They just don't have it on my stores that I usually buy stuff from.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, good deal. My number 58, funny enough, is actually another 1v1 game. I guess technically Sorcerer can be played with more, but no. This one cannot be played with more. And for some reason, Rose from 135. So we have another, from
Yeah.
135. So Rose 77 spots. And in 2020, it was 113. So past couple years, it hasn't even been in the top 100. But for some reason, I guess comparing it to a bunch of other games that it just happened to be better than, really shot it up, and for good reason. Like, this game is easily one of the best 1v1 games, just in terms of pure strategy, and that is Onitama. And this isn't even because of the latest expansion. I actually really disliked the last expansion they released because it just completely botched how pure this game is. The latest expansion added like 2 modes. It had added like a ninja mode where you have like a hidden screen and you're like secretly moving a ninja to try and assassinate like the emperor
Mhm.
of your opponent. It's just like, okay, so you have a game about pure strategy, and then you just throw in this random hidden move. It's like, just stop. Like, no one was looking for that. And then the other another mode where there was like, it was just trash. I hated it. But this game is basically, if people really like chess, but they're not 80 years old, um, or grandmasters, then highly recommend this because it just really flips it on its head, but still making it pure. We go to the next
Oh, I'm
picture.
sorry. Sorry.
So the board is very succinct. You have 5 pieces. You have 4 monks or whatever they are, and then your emperor. But beginning of the game, you shuffle 5 cards, deal 2 to each player, and there's 1 in the middle. And those patterns, the black square is your piece, and then the uh, colored square is where that piece can move. And all the pieces can move according to one of those 2 options, regardless of if they're the monk or the emperor. The kick of the game is whenever you use one of those cards to move a piece, you swap it out with the one in the middle. So like if you played the crane and moved a piece forward, you would swap the crane out with the rooster, and then so now you have the rooster, but then when your opponent plays something, so you're essentially always gonna end up giving your opponent a card. And that's where it becomes extremely strategic, because then you're kind of looking at what your opponent can do, what you're giving them, which then means in turn they can use it against you. And you win if you either capture the opponent's emperor or land your emperor on the opposing throne. There are so many different movement options, and just because there's no rule, you just shuffle up the deck and deal out 5, you're gonna
Right.
get a different combination of cards that like that in some games it's like, oh, that's the only one that can move forward. That's pretty powerful. Um, it's phenomenal. Like, I'm not surprised at all that this rose. I think it might have also had in play that I played it, against someone, and we were trying out the expansion, and it made me realize how great the base game is. That's like, this didn't need some weird wonky expansion. Yeah, it's it's fantastic. And then they also had another one where it like had this like weird neutral piece in the middle. It's like, no, 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 just more movement cards, and that's it. And my 5 pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really it. Like, I don't like chess. I'm not horrible at it, but I'm not the best there. But it's tried and true, and this one just has a lot more variety for me. So yeah, this one's fantastic.
Yeah, I've never played the physical version of this, but the app is really good. The iOS app.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
how I played it. It's a really good uh version of it.
Yeah, and that's actually one that would be just solid to just because you just quickly pop it out. Not, I mean, it's no different than playing chess online.
Right.
So yeah, that's my
Yep.
number 58, Onitama.
All right. My number 58 is a game that yeah, it was one that you showed me a handful of years ago. It was just missed my list last year at 113. So but I've played it a lot this year, and it's actually one that I've showed a lot of people because
Nice.
it's a good, I'm not going to say filler, but it's an easy it's a good co-op game for everybody to play, and it kind of has a good tense ending to it. And that
Mm.
is Subterra.
Did I show this to you?
Yeah, you did.
Huh. Wow.
We played it when it was, again, when you lived in Clinton.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so this is one that it's really, I've even played it solo,
Mm.
just to play it, but it plays really cool with stuff. The the tiling aspect of it, the the decisions that you have to make, whether you want to stay together, move apart, because there's this whole there's this whole thing that, like, the end is in the bottom 4 or 5, I think 4 or 5 tiles, the
Yeah.
exit. So if you take too long you're not exploring and setting many tiles, and you're not going to know where the ending is before that the
Your
flashlight
battery runs out.
battery runs out. So then you're
Hmm.
so then you are so you need to almost kind of split up just to kind of get all the tiles out. That way you can get close to the ending, but then you don't want to be too far from people because I and because then if you haven't, like, the bodyguard character, that takes the damage for other people, you want somebody to stay with them, and stuff.
Right.
It's just really an interesting game. If I had one complaint about this game, is that I mean, I know it's thematic, but the tiles are almost too dark. You can tell on this picture really well, but
Yeah.
like when you're playing the actual physical game, if you don't have the right lighting, like, it's kind of hard to tell where the exits of the tiles are and stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have the events that pop each time. So whether there's cave-ins or the gas chambers or floods, stuff like that, or
Hmm.
the I think they call it, is it the terror? Is that what they call the monster? I can't remember. But
Yeah.
um
Yep.
so when he activates, it moves one spot closer. And there's just a lot of cool things, and the characters have good abilities, and they're powerful abilities, because, like, the swimmer can go from one water place to another. It can be clear across the map,
Hmm.
on a turn. So I mean, there's a lot of cool powers in this. But then that end game, is what everybody talks about on this, because once the flashlight deck runs out, then you're just hauling ass. And after every turn, you have to roll a dice, and you have to roll a 4, 5, or 6 to keep going. If you roll below a
Yep.
4, then you're just
Yep.
lost to the
Just
darkness and die.
yep. Lots lights out. It's fantastic for a game that's so minimalistic
uh,
in presentation. Yeah, it really packs like just amazing atmosphere. Yeah, this one is really good. I've shown this to actually a lot of people. I've shown this to a buddy of mine, and yeah, it's just and it's not like one of those co-ops that's like insanely hard, but it's challenging enough.
Right.
So I really like this one. It was already on my list, luckily. So yeah, it was in the where was it? It was number 87
Gotcha.
for me. So yeah. Good choice.
All right.
My number 57, this is a new one to the list. And I'm actually very, very curious on where this is going to shake out. It's high up on this because of basically the game it's based upon. And there's a lot of really good bones here. It's another cooperative campaign style narrative driven game. And that is Stars of Icarios. And the reason why I say I'm curious about where this is going to fall is because I'm doing so many campaigns right now that I had to make a cut somewhere, and this is the one that I decided to stop playing, because the gameplay is super fun. Like take Gloomhaven and X-Wing, combine it together. That's literally what it is. Like the dogfighting is a blast. It's relatively streamlined. You feel powerful, like maneuvering around the map. Facing matters. You do have to utilize you use dice to do your like cool special ways to move, and then everyone has like a generic way that they can move to kind of like bank, or it's like I'm gonna do a barrel roll, or I'm gonna do like one of those fly straight and quickly bank around, because you want to be able to hit enemies in their like blind spot, which give you a bonus. And then the AI works really well too. So I mean, they come out and they can EMP blast you, they can stun you, like take all the conditions that are in Gloomhaven and then they're in here. So the combat and mechanisms of the game are super fun. And I see what they were doing where they had like such a massive amount of scenarios, and you could do space exploration like Seventh Continent, you can do planet exploration like Seventh Continent. Yeah, and so there's a lot in this box, and they did a really good job of the insert as well. So there's really cool ways for you to build characters and stuff. This game has so much going for it. The reason why I chose this one to drop is the narrative is so bad. It's so bad. They had like an app that they just kind of didn't really fine tune. Like I kid you not, there's so many errors in the voiceover. There's literally a part where the person who's reading, and I don't blame her, like it's not her fault, but she's reading it, and then in the middle of it, she like stutters and messes up, and then she's like, "Oh, fix it," like, "Hey, like whoever's gonna edit this, like I'm verbally telling you to edit this part out because I'm gonna restart it," and they didn't. And it's like, you fucked over this voice actress. Like now she's probably being like gonna be ridiculed because of the ineptitude of the editors. But it's just the writing is like just run on sentences, really amateur, like, so it makes it hard to care. And I know that the designer, I want to say it's either Brendan or Brandon. It is Brendan. You could tell, like, because he has a how to play on the game, you could tell how passionate he is about this. And I know that like they're going to do everything they can to fix it, because they're going on Kickstarter this year to fine tune it, basically update packs and refining. Hopefully they hire an actual writer, because like if this game, like I kid you not, if this game had like Tainted Grail or Sleeping Gods writing, I mean, it would probably be top 10. Like there's no reason why it wouldn't be. I mean, it's Gloomhaven in space with more.
Right.
But that just goes to show it could be 40 spots higher, 40, 50 spots higher, but the writing just really drags it down. I haven't gotten rid of my copy because I'm hoping that in the Kickstarter time they're gonna just do an update pack.
Most places do.
So it's still definitely worth checking out if you're not big into narration and you don't really care about the story, or you don't find it really all that bad. Then yeah, this game is really, really good, even though it has almost no original ideas of its own. Like literally, it's like Gloomhaven, X-Wing, Seventh Continent.
Right.
But it does streamline it. This game isn't bloated, and it also like it combines those three things really, really well. So it's staying in my collection. Very excited for the update pack. It's very much needed. Just a fine tuning. This game probably could have been maybe another 6 months to a year in development. Uh, but I mean, it still goes to show that even if they needed another year, the game is still functional. It's still really, really good. 57 out of my top 100. Because most games it's like, oh well, you completely fucked up and there's no redeeming yourself here. But
Right.
they people are like, yeah, no, we'll still play it, but there does need to be some work here. So yeah,
All
that's
right.
my 57 Stars of
So
Icarios.
going from this sci-fi game to another sci-fi game, this is one that you have played and I know that you enjoy. It's not your favorite of this genre, I guess.
Yep.
Solo gaming.
Mm. Okay.
But this one is a bag building solo game called Warp's Edge. This one was 46 last year and it slipped a little bit, but it's probably going to bounce back a little bit since I just got the new expansion
Hmm.
Kickstarter with the Recklin Run Kickstarter. Um, this is one of those. It came out around the same time as another game that you talked about a couple segments ago, Under Falling Skies.
Hmm.
Under Falling Skies is better, but this one, like, you could still have both. They're different styles of games.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
but this one,
I think I mentioned it. I only picked one because I'm not like a primarily solo gamer.
right,
So it's
right.
like, well, I mean, they're six of
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, yeah. This one is interesting because I mean, you pick a mothership and a ship that you're controlling, and you have a bag of tokens, and each time you're pushing yourself, but then like when you run out of tokens, you're gonna warp back, and then the game resets, and you are a little bit more powerful to take on more stuff, and you just keep going
Hmm.
through. Um,
Hold on, will you
and
go back for a sec? Will you go back
yeah,
to that cover?
yeah.
Why, what were they thinking? Like, why would they like I hate that they tried to do like the phasing of that
Oh
ship.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, okay, well, they're trying to make it look like he's battling and running away from the mothership. That's cool. But then you have that ugly ass, like pre CGI
yeah,
art behind it. It's like, okay, either make it the whole thing look like he's trying to like warp away from it, or not at all. Like, I don't know. I was just really
yeah.
looking at it and I'm like, that's ugly. That is ugly right there. Anyway.
No, you're good. But yeah, this one, like I said, it's bag building. You're pulling out, you have all these different chips that you're gaining for abilities and stuff. And ultimately you're just trying to you keep warping until you are strong enough to take out the mothership. And the motherships have different abilities. Like the original one. Um, the original one uh won't attack. It won't attack, and you can't attack it until all the other enemies in the deck have been eliminated. So it forces you to take out all their little ships
Hmm.
before you can even start messing with the mothership. And they're all different like that. There's different kinds of tokens for different kinds of abilities that you're going to be pulling out of your bag. You start off with, but you start off with the same chips in every game for the most part, and then you keep adding to it. Um, and it's just one of those deals. I like they have a bunch of ships that you can choose too because they're front and back on the ships as
Yeah.
well. So you have all these different ships. The expansion, um, not really sure what the um expansion. I haven't really. It's called Anomaly.
I
Yeah.
literally just looked it up.
And I'm not exactly sure what it adds yet because I haven't
It looks
played
like
it,
based off the description, it looks like it just adds more, like
which
more
is fine.
skills. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think more skills, more aliens,
more
more.
fighters, mothership skills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's
So
just a content pack, which I think more games need to have those kind of expansions.
right.
Honestly,
And for this being because this one came out after uh Proving Grounds, and Proving Grounds
Mhm.
was kind of subpar. Um, so this one came out and kind of redeemed this whole Renegade solo series, I think.
Mhm.
And then Reckland Run is a blast as well.
Oh, did you? Oh, you did get it as well, right?
Yes, because
Yeah,
the anomaly came with it was part of the Reckland
that's
Run
right.
deal. But I've played a game of it and had a blast playing it. So
Cool.
they're in the right direction now as far as the solo games go.
Yeah.
But
This is Renegade
yeah,
Studios.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't back Reckland Run. I don't know why. I kind of because I mean I liked Warp's Edge. In fact, it did something like it had a narration, like it had a unique kind of way to set up the game based like, hey, like kind of read through this story and then make decisions, and that's gonna be your mothership and this is gonna be your ship. And never have I wanted to lose a game based off the MC. Like the guy was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, I just fucking left my squad. They're all dead now, and but thank God I survived." I'm like, "You're a piece of shit."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Why am I playing you?" Uh, but yeah, then he keeps like, yeah, like warping back in time. He has like a like a stasis. It's pretty interesting. So
And Reckland Run, I think after if I get it played as much as I have this, it'll probably pass this because
really,
it's more thematic even because it
okay,
has these spiral bound books that lead you through like a series of battles and adventures and
cool,
stuff. And it's a pretty neat one as well. So they're doing well with this series right now, I think.
awesome. Neat. Oh, and it looks like that you can actually just get these games off of their website.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, good choice. I did like this one. All right, my number 56 is my second new one on the list, and this is one that I fully anticipated on liking without a doubt. I really like the designer. I like this mechanism that they add, and I generally like this theme. Like I'm not like super big on it. Like I'm not like this isn't my identity or anything. But whenever it's done well, it is really fun. And this theme I find is actually kind of hard to do well. And this game completely pulls it off, and that is Dead Reckoning. Theme being pirates, because either just I don't know. I feel like pirates are sometimes just like that cash in. It's like, well, we kind of want to be assholes to each other, so let's just throw a pirate theme on it. It's like, I mean, that's not really like that's not how that anyway. Yeah, so this is by John D. Clare, who is of Edge of Darkness and Mystic Vale fame and Thunderstone Quest. He's like the card guy. If you want a bunch of awesome cards in your game, this is the one you should get. And I guess he did Cubitos, which
Yes.
technically does also have quite a bit of cards in it. Uh massive game of piracy. Like I need to go back and play Merchants and Marauders just to be like, do I really need both? Because this game is kind of the Euro version of Merchants and Marauders. Uh way like this game is extremely streamlined and has a lot going on in it, but you get to create your own crew. Like everyone starts with kind of like the same cards in their deck. It's a card crafter like Mystic Vale or Edge of Darkness. And as you go around the board gathering updates, you slot them into various crewmates that make them more powerful as they go. But what's great about these card crafting games is that your deck doesn't get like bloated. Like it's not like you have 60 cards by the end of the game. It's like, nope, I still have the same 10, but now they're all super powerful for the various strategies you're going to need. It has a ton of public objectives that everyone's going for. Uh, sink a ship. It's like, okay, like go deliver 10 cargo to the port. and you can completely play this game without fighting one another, or you could be like, yeah, no, I'm going to be aggressive this whole time. And you can go out and explore islands and like, stash treasure on those islands and control the islands for a bunch of victory points. It has a lot going on like for it, but at the same time just feels very streamlined, and what you do on your turn just makes sense. Like you can get ship upgrades that allow you to move more, ship upgrades that allow you to have better abilities in combat. And obviously the big thing that draws the eye is that cube drop, which is that ship over on the left. And I thought I would hate that because, again, if you want to go combat, I don't like pure randomness
Right.
in combat. It's like, well, you didn't really do better than me. It's just you just rolled better. And that's almost what this is, though. You take cubes based off, number of cannons you have, special abilities you have, and even if I were to go fight you, and let's say I had 7 cubes and you had 2, there's crown spots in that little water area, and whoever gets the most crowns technically wins the combat. And so it's not entirely impossible for your 2 cubes to drop on the 2 crowns and none of mine do. But what's very interesting is that combat in this game, not that big of a deal. If you won, it's like, okay, yeah. Like, yeah, you didn't deal any damage to me or anything. In fact, I'm going to get a bunch of money and cargo out of this. So, all right, yeah, you won. But even if you get sunk, it's not like super debilitating. It's only really bad if you actively choose to keep money and cargo on your ship instead of delivering it, which it's like, well, that's kind of your own fault. But it's also not drop the cubes and see what happens. There are special abilities that let you either move things over or redrop or drop more. So it's actually a lot of fun. It is gimmicky, but I enjoy it. And I know there's another game on Kickstarter that basically took that same concept and put it in their game. So yeah, like if you're looking for the big epic pirate game, I would highly recommend Dead Reckoning. Solo mode is really bad though.
Yeah.
I do not like it. It also has, I think it has a campaign. Like there's a few like sagas that you can play as that have unique crew and unique upgrades as the game progresses. I don't think it's like a big narrative thing, but it does have progression as the campaign goes on.
Yeah, one of the podcasts I listened to a lot was reviewing this game, and they said that because they compared it to Merchants and Marauders, they were doing a comparison, and they said that Merchants is no longer even comparable. It's like out.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can honestly see that. I still have Merchants, and I really like the expansion for Merchants because there is a lot going on in that one as well. But yeah, it might be dated. This could just be that more refined pirate experience. But it's been a few years since I've done that, so I don't know. I can't truly compare them for any recency. But yeah,
Right.
this is a really good one. So it's my number 56.
All right. Well, my number 56 was 57 last year. So it's
Ooh.
pretty much stayed the same, but it was really high the years prior. It was 26 and then 5 back a handful of years ago. It's one that I don't get to the table very often, but when I do, I really, really enjoy it. I need to make it a point to get it to the table again. And that is Folklore.
Wow.
Section.
Where was this last year?
It was 57, so it stayed pretty
Oh,
much
okay,
the
that's
same.
right. It went up. Interesting.
It used to be 5, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. And then it's just because it hasn't gotten played a whole lot. But like I said, when I get this to the table, I have a blast with it. It's just a lot of stuff to get out and get set up and all that stuff. But yeah, this one, the unique horror theme to it, using the European horror tropes and stuff like that. And then also having the unique character classes, I think, is another thing, because it uses the different character classes that you don't see in these kind of fantasy horror type games. And And then also, I mean, it's pretty much an RPG in a way, because when you pick your character, there's branch offs with their skills, so you can kind of go choose which way you want to go with them. Also, you you can go to towns, and certain thing people can only buy certain things at certain towns, so it keeps in the theme that way. If you die, you become a ghost version of yourself, and you're still in the game, but yet you're not really in the game until you can get repurposed. um but that picture, they're using Marvel Champions life counters.
Yeah, no, I was gonna make a joke about, and eventually you become a superhero.
but yeah, this one, because you travel as a party on the world map, and when you go, you do day events or night events depending on that. Plus, there's also road and off-road events, so you can travel faster going off the road, but there's also higher risk because the shit can get a lot crazier.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, and then you have these little skirmishes as you go around there, which are resolved just with die rolls. You just pull a card out, and there's no miniatures as far as that goes, any of that. But if you have an actual encounter, then you have to put down a grid map, and it's kind of like in Final Fantasy or any of those video game RPGs, where if you bump into a creature, then it zooms in, and then you have a battle on this little battle map. And then that's when you pull out all the minis and all that stuff. That's one reason why I don't hit the table a whole lot, because there's a lot of, and I know you've mentioned this before, that it was hard to record, just because
you
have the world board, and then you have to put down the skirmish board, and you have to do all this different stuff.
It was like so immersion breaking all the time.
And I could see that. I mean, with me playing it solo, pretty primarily, that's one of the main things. It works for me that way. There's a lot to keep track of with this game. I haven't gotten into the newest expansion stuff that brings you to another part of the world, the sand spires or spires, whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They do really cool with their miniatures, though. Like, I have the big monster chest, so like all the monsters go in this big chest now. And they're in drawers by the storyline, so like the box. And then all the miniatures also have the name of the miniatures on the bottom, which is also something we've talked about over the years, which is something that I'm surprised more people don't do.
Yeah, which the miniatures expansion for Frostpunk does that for its buildings.
That's good.
Which is like, oh, thank God, because they all look the same.
But this is just one of those ones that I don't know. Like, if I play it, it could probably go right back up, and it could quite possibly go down after I play it again. I mean, it's kind of in that limbo area right now where I really enjoy it, but there's so many games coming out that fit in this realm now, especially with me getting into Oathsworn and backing that and everything. There's only so much time for these big sprawling games like this, because I do Shadows of Brimstone and Frosthaven's here, and all this different stuff. So this one's just kind of holding steady for right now. We'll see what happens afterwards. Oh, and one other thing that this does that I don't know of any other games that does this is they have the crafting system. So like, you can actually pick up items throughout the deal, and there's this whole craft deck. So if you get certain things, then you can craft them.
I mean,
a new item.
Kingdom Death Monster and Aeon Trespass do that.
Yeah.
But it's also not through a deck. I like the concept. This game is like so close on so many great things that I feel like they just missed the mark on. Like, the crafting is a good example where it's like, it just bloats that deck. It's like, man, I'd really like to find a weapon, but I drew 10 cards and they're all crafting materials that I need for recipes that I don't have. This game. When did this come out? I actually just pulled it up. 2017. So same year that Gloomhaven came out. This one, I know we've talked about it, but it's just it's right there on being a fantastic RPG experience, but it's just so fiddly. that if Greenbrier Games were to be like, if they were to come and do like a second edition
Mhm.
and just hone it in and just take away that crafting deck and just allow you to gain, like we've mentioned Descent Legends of the Dark, like, and make it to where you just gain those various ingredients, like not actual physical cards. So your loot deck is actually, relevant items, but it's like, hey, you kill this monster, boom, 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 you got herbs and grass and
Right.
bark and whatever, and it's just arbitrary, but it's still cataloged. Because even skirmishes and like Oathsworn are done like that, and then this game it's another thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, I think they could easily be like, hey, Folklore second edition or third edition. I don't know if this is the second
Well, I was
edition.
getting ready to say that the first, because the one I have is the second Kickstarter. It's not really a new edition per se. I mean, it's pretty much was a reprint, but they honed a little bit of the rules
Yeah,
a little
they gotta
bit. So
hone it
this is
again.
right, right.
Like, just make it, because so many games of this caliber have come out that they could be like, okay, that worked there, that worked there, that worked there. So keep the theme, keep the unique characters, keep the cool way you want to build them, and just tighten this game up. And yeah, I'd be all in for it, but I am way off it now.
Yeah.
But still, I guess good choice. All right, my number 55 is a relatively, I mean, I guess not older game, but is the better of the two that are in this genre, as because I've already talked about one of them, I think. I can't find it now, actually. Did I? I had to have. Yes, I did. It was the very first segment we did. So clearly at this time, and I think time has shown that I like this one better. It was 49 last year, fell 6 spots, and it was 21 in 2020. But yeah, this is a game that does this theme really well, and it is Dinosaur Island. I can't remember if you talked about this already,
I don't believe I have.
but obviously the comparison of this is to Dinosaur World. Dinosaur World was in my 90s. I
Oh,
still really like both.
95 is what I had it
Okay,
at.
that's what I thought. I thought you had mentioned it before, but yeah. So basically, this is Jurassic Park. You are making a dinosaur themed park, utilizing dice drafting and getting DNA to spend to get different dinosaurs, which then you put into pens in your park to gather excitement and basically get like more people like meeples to come into your park, which then gives you more money and victory points. The game is broken up into 4 different phases that are kind of, like you said, are 4 different mini games, but they're all cohesive. So they're not solely isolated, because you do have to understand how they all interconnect. But it's structured in a way that I think just kind of is done very well. This very much put Pandasaurus on the map and has kept them up there, really. But yeah, I think it does. I think this is a blast. Like, it's I think the best way to play this game is like in the medium length, because you
Mhm.
can theoretically make objectives that, because once those are met, then that's how the game ends. And you can choose, hey, do you want to play a short game? Then you only choose short objectives, medium, and then long. Long is a little bit too much, and then short is not enough. But the options are there if you want to. But I think a really good sweet spot is that medium length. And yeah, like, it's really cool. You can upgrade your lab for various special abilities. You can hire assistants that have special abilities. You can completely design your theme park the way you want it. It's the whole shebang, and it's very concise. If you're comparing this to Dinosaur World, obviously Dinosaur World is the big mega corporation theme parks where you actually travel through it, and that's how hey, we're going to show you there's the T-Rex. Oh, yay! And then you get very special abilities for that. But they are kind of ingrained around the same system. I think you can own both. They are different enough, but yet familiar. So it's just kind of what you're wanting. But if I were to say, if you had to pick one, I would say Dinosaur Island. I think it's just a little bit more streamlined. Dinosaur World is a little bit bloated for basically getting the same kind of thematic experience.
I would
So yeah,
agree.
that's my 55, Dinosaur Island.
Very nice choice. I like that one a lot. All right. So my number 55 is a game that has been on my list the last 3 years and kind of in the same zone. It's 55 this year, obviously, 51 last year, 57 and 63. So it's kind of just stayed right in
Wow.
this area.
Okay.
It is kind of saved this game for me because I had the original base game of this. It was a more or less a 1v1 deck builder that just thematically didn't make sense as far as how you got cards in your deck and how you used them. But now this expansion and this it's a soul it's a it's an expansion, but it's also a standalone. So
Okay.
that's why it's on here because it adds solo and co-op to everything. And that is DC deck building game Rebirth. So pretty much it uses the same stuff as the DC deck building game, but in this time it turns movement of characters into it. So you're going to put cards, locations around in a circle, and you are going to be purchasing cards from locations or be defeating. You know how DC deck building game does, but there's there's scenarios. So if you play this in the cooperative or solo version, there's 8 different scenarios in these resealable packets. So it adds cards. There's different things that pop up, and you can almost play this legacy style, but it's resettable.
Gotcha.
And so you pick your heroes. You're going to go in. You're going to do whatever it is, and it's pretty difficult. I mean, because there's that threat track in the middle, and you have to maintain that. And there's a main bad guy that you're trying to eventually knock out and foil his scheme before it goes off. But you have all the movement that you've got to be prepared for, and that's the big difference with this, because you got to get to certain locations to do certain things instead of just playing your 5 cards, buying this, killing this, move on to the next turn. This one gets a lot of hype in the solo community because it is a really good solo experience. Super simple to set up and go. You still have that thing where if you're Superman, you could have Batman cards in your deck and all that jazz, just like usual.
Yeah.
But I think just being able to play this cooperatively or solo and having that movement, having that objective you're trying to reach instead of just beating the bad guy,
Right.
adds more depth to this game. And I wish they'd come out with more stuff that would fit in this Rebirth, like more scenarios and stuff. They really haven't done anything extra to it since this came out a few years ago. So I think this came out in 2019. So
It's really weird because Cryptozoic seems to like pump out a bunch of expansions for like all their other games. Like they're about to go on Kickstarter for a 3rd Epic Spell Wars deck builder.
Yeah, I know. Well, and maybe because they put out little expansions for DC deck building game, and I just kind of ignore them because they don't say Rebirth. Maybe they have stuff that adds into Rebirth. I don't know. I haven't really dove into them because they have like these little expansion things that I don't think so. Because if you click on expansion, there's nothing for it on there. So I think this is pretty much it, unless they decide to come out with more stuff. And a lot of that could just be licensing stuff. I mean, I don't know how long they have the DC stuff anymore.
That's true. Who knows how long anything happens with DC.
Right. So, but anyway, that is my 55.
Awesome. My number 54 was 54 last year. And then 2020, it was 51. So it's been like right almost smack dab in the middle each time. And this is another game by John D. Clare that I just think is the bee's knees. I think it's really, really cool. I don't know if you've tried this one yet, and I'm actually about to get the expansion in. So I'm going to get that played at some point, and that is Edge of Darkness. You haven't tried this one?
No, I owned it. I never played it.
Gotcha. So Edge of Darkness is actually really fascinating, considering that it's still the card crafting system. God, I really love this box cover. It's so cool. Yeah, so you play as like guilds. That's the theme, and how the game is kind of set up is that you have a bunch of different locations, and those locations have uh various cards. So this is more akin to Mystic Vale than Dead Reckoning, but you're card crafting your cards to gather various victory points, money, and stuff like that. It's extremely busy, but you use workers to go to locations that then allow you to use that location's special abilities, which then also get you cards that you can sleeve in to just kind of have as members of your guild. There's also a cube tower over on the right that has different kind of threats. Those are the encroaching enemies that are coming, that if the section like overflows with a certain number of cubes, whoever has the most cubes there is the one that's the target. So you have to be able to defend yourself and defend your stronghold. But what's really cool about this game, and that I think makes it different than the rest, is that when you play cards, they go into like a shared kind of pool. So your deck constructing and card crafting together, which is really unique, but you can essentially put your guilds, like you have a deck or a stack of like clear cards that have your guild's color on it. So you can eventually like kind of like own certain cards. Like whenever you're card crafting, they become neutral, but eventually be like, I'm gonna take this one. And that doesn't mean that no one can use it. Like people can still take that card. However, for each section of that card that they use, they have to pay you a resource for it.
Right.
And I find that extremely fascinating. Like it's just that market, that row in the middle that's like, okay, well, I really want to use this one because it has all the abilities I need. Crap, that's yours. Okay, I'm still gonna take it and then use it and just give you like 3 money to do each one. But what's also cool is that it's not like, oh man, I really wish I could use my own cards, but you keep taking them. If anyone ever discards cards that have your icon in it, it goes into your discard pile. So you will eventually get it. The sheer amount of locations that this game has, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like I just said, I'm getting another expansion that adds more locations, and therefore each location has their own deck of cards to use. And yeah, there are scenarios you can play that kind of tell you which locations to put out, but there's no rhyme or reason why you can't just randomize it and throw them out there. There is rules on what locations kind of have to come out, but it's like you need a certain number of this icon out, but there's 15 of those options, so you can just shuffle those. It's it's pretty fascinating. Everyone I've shown this to, like, well, not everyone, but the people I have shown this to have gone out and bought it, and because it's like, well, do you like Mystic Vale? Yeah, I love it. Okay, this has a little bit more to that. It's not just your pure deck builder like
Right.
Mystic Vale kind of is. There is worker placement and actually battling, because you can go fight those monsters on the side and get victory points for doing that. It's this one is really, really good, and I just love the variety it has for it. So that's my number 54, Edge of Darkness.
It's definitely a table hog from the looks of it.
It certainly is, yeah, because you have that main board and then you have like 2 side boards that art wise like match up to the edges, and then yeah, you have like all those cards that get put on it. Yeah, it's a beast. It's a really big box.
Yeah,
but I love my card games. It's the best way to have variety.
All right. Well, my number 54 is a game. It was 21 last year, 22 and 35. So it's fallen a little bit this year. I don't know really why, other than I just hasn't been played a whole lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it'll ever leave this list, just because it's a really fun game to play with non-gamers necessarily. It's not really a super gamery game. And that is Quedlinburg.
That's a good one.
Yeah, this one's one that's it's easy to teach. And because you can adjust the difficulty and complexity by choosing which books you're going to have out there, because there's books that are simple to understand, some that you can get up to the more complex. And then when you understand, teach them about how it's just push your luck. I mean, that's a common, people understand what that means.
Yeah.
But pretty much you're just going to be pulling, it's a bag builder, and you're going to be pulling ingredients out of your bag, and you're going to start at the center of your pot, and you're going to keep placing them out a certain distance from the one prior, depending on what the number on that deal is. And then there will be different abilities for each ingredient that may or may let you do different odds and ends. But there's also the white ones, the cherry bombs. I think it's once you get seven total worth of cherry bombs is when it explodes.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of push your luck, because if you stop and don't explode, then there's on your pot as you go around, there's money and victory point numbers on that. If you don't explode and you decide to pass, then you're going to gain both of those. You're going to gain the money to be able to buy and your victory points. If you bust, then you have to choose one or the other. You can buy something but not get or get the victory points. So it's kind of this whole ebb and flow of whether you want to risk it or not. And then
it's nice that it's not like a fully like all or nothing, which is very nice.
Right. Yeah, and I also like I usually don't like catch-up mechanics a ton. But this
I
one
like mustard mechanics. So dumb.
This one's interesting because on the score track, there's all these rats, and however far you are behind the person in first place, however many rat tails are hanging between them, is how many spots you can start ahead in your pot. So if they're like 3 tails ahead, then you can actually start on the 3rd spot of your pot instead of in the center. So you kind of get a little boost there. But it's a good catch-up mechanic, because it could push you, but you could still bust too. I mean, it just adds that different stuff.
Yeah.
And
there's 2 expansions for this game. Have you played either?
I have played the first one, but not the second one. I don't even know if I own this. I don't think I own the second one yet.
I do. It's in shrink.
But there's so much, so many different books, because they're double-sided. There's multiple colors. So there's so many different ways that these ingredients can be used.
Yeah.
It almost kind of has that Cubidos vibe, because there's the red books, but there's a bunch of different versions of that red, so it changes the gameplay, and the replayability is really high on this.
Yeah, I agree. This one's not in my top 100. It was always kind of on that edge. Like last year, it was literally number 100. But the year before that, it was 102. And I guess comparing it like the way I did my top 100 this year, of literally comparing it to everything that I have in my collection instead of kind of cherry picking, it went down to like 140. But I still love this game. Like this game is so much fun. Just the amount of variety of the ingredients is a blast. So
indeed. And then I also have the cool BGG bits for it too, that are nice.
Yeah, so. I have the nice bags too.
Yeah,
where they're circular at the bottom instead of. Yeah, that's an upgrade everyone needs to get. Otherwise, you're just touching gross ass cardboard and shitty bags. Yeah, all right, good choice.
That's my 54.
Okay, my number 53 is a game that you actually don't like, I don't think. Maybe you like the app version, I can't remember. But for some reason, this rose significantly. It was 96 last year, it rose 43, and it was 62 in 2020. So for the past couple of years, this just went higher. And it is, I mean, I have the collector's edition. I had it the past 2 years, so I don't know what caused it to rise this high, except for the fact that it's a great game. I really enjoy this, and it's probably my favorite city builder, even though I don't have a whole bunch of them, and that is Suburbia. by Bezier Games. The games that I have played by that company, I do really enjoy. Like they're not like constantly making games from to my knowledge, but yeah, like I think the ones that they do have are extremely solid. And like I said,
The
this is
best one is
what
Whistle Mountain, or not Whistle Mountain. Yeah, Whistle Mountain. That's their best one.
Whistle Mountain is really good. Clearly, I have this higher, so I mean, this has an insert.
It does. This is also a collector's edition. I don't think they'll ever come out with a collector's edition for
No,
Whistle
I don't think so. Uh, but yeah, and it is a really nice collector's edition. Yeah, so like I said, it's a city builder, tons of different tiles that you can place for your city. I used to think this game, actually, can you go to the next picture?
Yeah.
I used to think this game was ugly, but as time has gone on, I really enjoy the top-down nature of it. Maybe it's also because I've only played the collector's edition, so I've only seen probably refined art and
That first one was hard. It was all
it
this like
almost felt
weird abstract looking on the
I think
tiles and stuff.
yeah, it almost looked like a weird like Excel spreadsheet where it's like,
Yeah.
this looks like just a color. Like, but yeah, this is really defined. And yeah, so I really enjoy like the way that this game flows, like of how you utilize money, how you gain money, and then that centralized track of drafting. It's like, man, I really want that tile, but it's super expensive. I have the money. Do I pay or do I wait and hope that it's cheaper? I like those kinds of decisions. I just like the way that you can completely go thematic on the city you want to build, the way that the tiles work next to each other. Now, this is a lot of upkeep. I know a lot of people like the app because it just does all the math for you instead of you being like, okay, I played a green. Anyone else? Anyone have like anything that affects if I place a green? Uh, that's the only kind of thing about this game that is kind of annoying is you do have to kind of keep track of what everyone else is doing versus just what your board is. It does make it a little bit more player interactive, but not really. And yeah, like I mean, there's the income tracks, the reputation tracks that are super beneficial to have. I just love variety, and with the collector's edition, there's a bunch of modules you can play that give out different tiles that are going to be thrown into that centralized board. I like the personalized goals. I like the public goals. This is just extremely clean for me. And with again, the collector's edition makes it probably better. That might be why it's also significantly higher. It's just they really did it right with this collector's edition. And I know they just did, hold on, let me just check something. If it's the same designer, it is. Yeah, and they just did their collector's edition of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, so I would assume they put the same kind of love and care into refining that and making sure that it all just is a actual collector's edition. But I haven't actually played my collector's edition yet. But yeah, that's I mean, Suburbia is an older game. Like, when did that come out? Suburbia 2012.
Yeah.
Wait.
I
Oh, I'm
would
like
probably
2001. That's a
I would be
difference.
more apt to play this version of it just because of the art. Because like those tiles on the other ones were just so bland. Like I couldn't immerse myself in that game, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But just having
God
the nice
damn.
art would be so much better on these.
Yeah, I'm looking at the first one now, and it's like it's like that looks like um um what do they call it? Like where the game's not made yet. A
Oh yeah,
prototype that looks like
yeah,
prototype stand-in art where it's like,
right.
oh, you're gonna hire an artist, right? And you're like, what do you mean? I don't know. I guess the game mechanics are good, and it is, but yeah, this one is just really like, hey, I can see my city, and I always like that. I like when the game's over and you can just kind of be like, hey, this wasn't here before, and now it is. That's just pleasing. And
Right.
I remember one time, uh, Kat actually had, I think it was Orlando, because that's down in Florida, and all she did was get trailer parks. She just
Oh
made it
yeah.
like super trashy and then had, I think the only education she had was middle school. I'm like, man, Kat, you really did your research. Floridians only do have a middle school education. So yeah, this is kind of hits on all wheelhouses for me. I enjoy it. So that's my 53. So
All
yeah, I mean,
right.
if you're interested in trying this, yeah, I'll definitely play it.
Yeah, I'd try
Play it
it
with you.
sometime just to see. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever really go and buy it just because that collector's edition is pretty pricey,
Yeah, and
but
it really is nice if you get like the big one that has like a bunch of the cities, even though they don't do well. Actually, I think there is a module that make the individual cities have like a special tile, like kind of like a monuments. Hey, in Orlando, you have meth labs, and in
right.
and so I think that is in one of the versions. But other than that, yeah, it just gives you a bunch of different cities to do. Like Dubai has its tower, massive.
Right.
It's massive tower. I think you can build.
All right.
So yeah, it's a good one.
All right, that will work. All right. Well, my number 53 is a game that used to a few years back. It was 13. Then it was 54, and then it went clear down to 132 last year. And now it's back up to 53. So
Jeez.
it's done quite the roller coaster.
Way up,
Um,
way out, and now right in the middle. It's kind of
yeah,
it's finally course corrected.
yeah. And this one, it's probably always going to be a top 100 game for me, especially because it has a solo mode, an expansion that lets you play it solo. But I've played it with other groups this year and just continue to see how good of an awesome game it is. Multiplayer, it's actually better multiplayer than solo, obviously. You enjoy this game, you have all of it for it, and I still need to pick up more of the expansions, and that is Thunderstone Quest.
Nice.
um this one I
Why was I
owned.
saying? Why was I saying John D. Clare did this? I didn't. Maybe I didn't say this. I thought he did this, but
No.
it's fucking Mike Elliott. Jesus Christ, Mike, get it together. Let John make your game.
Can you imagine having card crafting with all the damn cards in this game? Good lord.
That's what I thought. That's why I was like, oh, John D. Clare's the card guy. And so it immediately made me think Thunderstone Quest was him because this has a million cards.
It does indeed. This is one that I've owned the other iterations of this before it became Thunderstone Quest. Like I had the original Thunderstone from back in the day when it came out, and it was just strictly deck building. Then I had Thunderstone Advance, which streamlined that quite a bit, and everything. And then it kind of went away. And then they came out with this Thunderstone Quest, which added a little bit of um, a like a story to it, a little bit like a little story booklet, and different
Yeah.
odds and ends, and tons of cards. I need to get all this stuff for this. I have like a handful of the expansions and stuff, but
I mean, be
pretty much
prepared to
it's
have 3 of those massive storage boxes.
yeah, yeah. And so pretty much you're just doing the basic deck building stuff. You're getting cards, or you can upgrade your people or powers and stuff like that. um I would like it does have the different play modes, like the barricade mode is what you can play solo with. um but ultimately, I mean, this is a competitive game. I mean, that's the main form of this game.
Yeah.
um
They have
I
an
would
epic mode where you literally play with every card.
Yeah, that was Tom Vassell helped create that mode.
Of course he did. I don't think he understood how many expansions they were gonna put.
Well, I think, yeah, that was with Thunderstone Advanced, and with the other Thunderstone, I don't think it works as well with this, just because there's
It's too
so many
much.
box and story
Yeah.
stuff. But I like that, it has your basic roles, hero roles, wizards, fighters, rogues, all that jazz. Um and there's a lot of they've really, I mean, because there's a lot of cool stuff in this. Like there's a ton of cards, but to me, and you have more than I do, so you can talk about this more than me. But I don't feel like it's bloated to the fact. I mean, because you can pick and choose what comes out and stuff on certain
Yeah,
things.
it's kind of like Aeon's End in the sense that they have randomizer cards, so you can just be like, okay, well, we need our heroes, shuffle those up, and boom, boom, boom. That's what we're playing as, and here's our weapons that are available, and then like the treasure decks and stuff. That's the only one where it's like, okay, here's your treasure deck. But
Right.
yeah, it has, again, why I love card games. It has so many options, but it's not like, okay, here's everything. I mean, yeah, like we said, there's a mode where you can have everything, but please don't ever do that. It's
Right.
so much. Like literally, because we have the collector storage box. I have 3 of those. And it's not like, oh, I kind of went overkill and I just have 3. No, they're full. They're full of shit.
Yeah.
Like I
Because
think
all
one major box is like all the hero stuff, and the other one is like all the enemy stuff, and
yeah.
there's a lot.
Yeah, because all I have is the main big box. And then I think I added the barricades expansion and one other of those expansions. I don't have a lot of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
still.
Yeah, I think the rule book for this is actually not that great
Yeah.
because it's like they want it to be free flowing because you do have a worker, you have your guy, and you can
Yeah.
go to various locations to get stuff, but it's like, well, is there a phase? Like, when do I go to the dungeons?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just really neat because you have it's very replayable because you can upgrade your people, different ways, and you get all these different cool things. This is the ultimate way to play Thunderstone. I mean, I always thought Thunderstone Advance was the best way.
Mm-hmm.
But having the story element a little bit, and everything
Yeah,
is the best way for this. And I'll eventually
delving into the
install.
dungeon with like the
Yeah.
lanterns, like that you need
Yes.
like
Yes.
light to
The
go
light
further
and
in.
stuff. Yep. Which that's always been a thing with all of them. But
Oh, okay. I've only ever played this one because I
yeah,
had heard that it's like, oh, if you like Thunderstone Advance, well, stop it and get this because it
right.
has that, but it's just better. And I'm like,
This one
okay.
just adds the story stuff, the quest part. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's more or less the same game for all intents and purposes, streamlined a little bit, and they've added that story element to it, which
Okay.
makes it better because it makes it you're not just because in the other ones you just picked your heroes, picked your monsters for the monster deck stuff, and you just played a scenario. It wasn't like a branching like you just played a game,
Yeah.
instead of this one having kind of your
Yeah.
stuff and
And
everything.
yeah,
So
because yeah, you're right. Because they do have, it's similar to Edge of Darkness, where it's like, okay, yeah, you pick kind of a scenario, but they don't connect
mhm,
to each other.
right.
Um, Yeah, and the solo mode's not bad from what I remember. I think I've played the solo mode of
It's like
this.
it's like a tower defense kind of that barricades. It's like you're
Is it?
just things that coming at you. I believe. I mean,
I thought
it's
you had
been
to
a
go
long time since
fight.
I played it, but
I thought you had to go fight like an adversary. I thought there was like a final boss in the solo mode. I don't remember. I know there is
it's
a
been a
final boss
couple of
you
years since
pick.
I've done it. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot. But yeah, that's a good one. Not my top 100, but it's closer. It's
right,
up there.
right.
All right. My number 52. Where is it? My number 52 fell. Uh, it fell. It was 32 last year, fell 20, 35 the year before that. Mainly because, funny enough, this didn't actually fall because there was a game that came out that I think it's better, or that I think that is better than this. It mainly fell because this is kind of a beast to play, but still phenomenal game, like wonderful experience, and has a lot of really good expansions for it. And that is Terraforming Mars. I think you talked about this in the last segment, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure you did.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
67.
Yeah. So I'm not that far off from you, in terms of where I kind of like obviously have this placed. Um, this is a wonderful engine builder game of trying to terraform Mars, and everyone is kind of shared terraforming because oxygen has to go up to a certain point, heat has to get up to a certain point, and water has to get up to a certain point before the game finally ends. It's just who contributes more is kind of how that goes, and where are those tracks for you to play certain cards. I've always enjoyed that. So it's like if you really want to get this really nice card played, then you're going to try and be the one to move a track up a certain way. Uh, this is kind of a game where there are a bunch of public objectives that you're going for that will give you victory points at the end of the game. This really allows for players to kind of do short-term goals as well as long-term goals. Like last time I played this, I had one card. I'm like, this is the one I want to get out, and I did everything in my power to get those icons and the money to play it. And it was just so rewarding. It's like I've been holding on to this for the entire game.
Yeah.
Boom, got it. It's and then yeah, just with the way that these cards allow you to just have your own isolated engine is phenomenal. The Prelude expansion is a must. I know everyone says that, but you have to. Like, you have to kickstart this game kind of with the corporation card or the Prelude card that you pick, where it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of where, like, it just allows people to just start with stuff instead of literally from nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and I think even as long as it's been out, I don't think it shows its age at all. It's aged extremely well. And yeah, there's just tons of ways to play with the expansions. The Colonies expansion, I think, is really, really good. That's actually what they're playing with over on the left, of colonizing certain planets. And then the Turmoil one with the politics, I think it is a good expansion. It's just not great with everything else. It's a little much. And then you have different planets that you can go terraform with another expansion. But if you get tired of the base game, so yeah, I have the collector's edition for this one with like the 3D pieces and just the storage solution. So that is a big help. But yeah, this one is tried and true. I would consider it a modern classic. And I actually don't hate the art. Like, I kind of like it because this is a real thing that humanity is trying to do. So it makes sense to kind of do it with real kind of stock art. But yeah, so I think it's appropriate. The only weird thing about this game is like they have the kind of strange every now and then take that, where it's like, oh, meteor, yep, that destroys everything you were working on. It's like, why? This didn't need to be here. Why? Like, if it was an event deck, that's a different thing. But like another person playing it is kind of like, it's out of place.
Yes.
And I don't know why this and Arc Nova have those. Like, you don't need them. Just so, but they're easily removable. Just find them and get rid of them. Just okay, nope, they're not in here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, not gonna belabor it anymore. It's been out for a long time. I mean, obviously between this and Arc Nova, pick your poison. Do you like space stuff or do you like animals? Because they play pretty similar.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, that's my 52.
Awesome. My 52 was 39 last year, so it slipped a little bit, mainly just because I haven't played it a whole lot this year. I think I maybe played it once, and it was early in 22. But it is, in my mind, probably the best of the Uwe Rosenberg worker placement games, and that is A Feast for Odin.
I need to play this game again.
Yeah, it's been
a hot minute,
and I haven't touched the Norwegians expansion, so I don't know what that does. I just have the base game, but this one, there's just so many options you can do with this game, and there are many different ways you can go to win this game as well. I think there was like 60 some spots, I think, for worker placement.
50 to 60.
Yeah, I think. But yeah, so what you're doing is you're gaining, you start this game off, and this is one of the interesting things with this, is you start this game off with your central hull, like your central board is full of negative points, and you're trying to cover up the negative points with the polyomino things to make it to where you don't.
Oh, it actually says you are negative 86 points.
Oh, so that's how many is on your board.
That's how many you are negative according to this.
Yeah. So that makes sense because then you are getting those little polyomino pieces and you're putting them on your board to cover up those negatives because it's a burner. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you see all the spots and you'd think 61 spots, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, I just looked at it. I saw that too.
The iconography is pretty decent on this. Like it's not there's 61 spots, but they're all kind of in a lane. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they're
So it's like,
grouped, so it's
right,
like
right.
it's like,
So
hey, here's how you can place this tile, but
mhm,
here's how you can do it. Like it's just kind of like they're just better options, but they cost more workers.
right. And you're not going to get completely screwed over like in some really cutthroat worker placement games. There's always something
Hmm.
you can get out of it and do. Um, I have not played. I've only played this game at 3.
I played it too.
Is
That's
it
the
work
only.
good with 2?
It's really good, yeah. And
Yeah.
here's the kicker for anyone who's watched my channel for an amount of time. Obviously, Kat does not like these kinds of games. She actually liked this one. Like I convinced her, like, hey, you know what? Let's just fucking give it a shot. I know it's 50 plus different areas, but let's see what we can do. And yeah, she was like, no, this one's really good because yeah, you hear the stigma of the 61 spaces, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me, really? But no, it flows really, really well because Uwe Rosenberg's a brilliant designer. So if he's gonna say there's 61 spots, well,
Yeah.
he's gonna know how to balance it.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see because like Agricola is what it is. I played it, it's fine. But then Caverna came out, killed Agricola. Caverna's really good. I really like Caverna. And
I
then
haven't played either.
this came out and I still own Caverna and this. They're different enough, but this is definitely
Hmm.
the step up. I haven't tried that Hallertau or whatever his that one came
Yeah.
out. It's not the same kind of game,
From
but
what I've heard, not a lot of people were, at least people who are really into his kind of games. This one
mm,
didn't. I mean, it's an 8 out of 10 on Board Game Geek, but I uh I don't know. I mean, but does he only do polyomino games?
no, I mean they're
Okay.
not all of them are. That's just the kind of the lane that he jumped into over the last handful of years because he
Okay.
had all those like the Summer Garden or whatever those weird games. All those were polyomino games, and
Uh, so yeah, you're close. I mean, there's Indian Summer,
yeah,
Cottage Garden,
there we go. Just combine them all.
and oh man, what's the third one? And Indian Summer, Cottage Garden, and fuck, there's a third one in that. I liked Indian Summer, but yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
they're just all the polyomino stuff though, right there. But not all of them are. Like I don't think Hallertau. I don't.
It's not. I was kind of looking through it. It doesn't
Yeah.
have it. It is. There is Cottage Garden, Indian Summer, and damn it, Brad. Spring Meadow.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I got there.
So yeah, this one, there's tons of variety of how you can play through this game, and you can win multiple different ways. There's not like, oh, I'm gonna go and do all this fishing or crap and everything. It's like you can
Hmm.
you can win several different ways with this.
Yeah,
And this one's not as big of a table hog as Caverna is, so that's a
really
bonus for that
interesting.
too. So
I
Caverna's
actually
all
just got
nice.
the wooden insert for this, which is very nice to
Yeah,
have everything organized.
yeah. So anyway, that's my 52, A Feast for Odin.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. And the last one for this segment is unfortunately a game that you have not played. I think you would really like it, so we should definitely give this a shot. And and it was 53 last year, so it rose 2 spots, and it was new last year. So I have actually played this relatively recently, and this is a really unique take on storytelling and how they do things and kind of dice the way dice are used, and that is
Uh,
Solomon Kane, by Mythic Games, who is Not doing so hot as of late, having to sell off a bunch of their IPs.
Did you see that they sold Solomon Kane off to Simon?
Did they? Okay, I
Yeah.
couldn't remember if that was one of them. I I don't know if that means Simon. Like, I don't know what Simon's doing with those IPs.
It's
I don't
probably
know
just
if,
that they have it that way in case they
yeah,
wanted more with it or whatever.
maybe,
But,
maybe there's a lot to this game. There is
yeah.
a lot of the stories. I have everything finally for it. So, I mean, eventually, luckily, Mythic Games did pull through, and I did get all the stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is an IP I have not seen anywhere else. And because there's a lot of, rich lore around this kind of storytelling. But like I said, you do not actually play as Solomon Kane. You play as the virtues of like the four virtues, and you utilize dice to have Solomon basically take actions. So it's like a shared kind of like dice pool that you're like passing dice so others can do their actions to get him to move and to get him to attack. But all of it is driven around the narrative, and there's each kind of book has its own kind of decision matrix on how you're going to go about, interacting with the world. And it's like, oh man, this guy's, barn is burning. Do you go help him, or do you ignore him? And that will tell you to go to certain sections within the storybook. And that those decisions, depending on how big the story you're doing, will carry over from act to act. Because I think the largest one, I think there are 3 acts, and the writing is extremely well done. It's very much in this time period on how things are written. But I like the fact that they like Solomon Kane is not just kind of like a shell, but he's a conflicted kind of individual that needs to follow certain virtues, and each virtue has their strength. It's like obviously justice is really big around combat. Um, I always forget the four virtues. Solomon Kane. It is the four virtues are not immediately apparent to me. Like they're not popping up. But yeah, they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. So if you really want Solomon to go out and actually talk to someone to gather information, you're gonna want to focus on one virtue, allowing all of that. But there's a lot of this. It has a lot of the Mythic Games kind of like minuscule and rules to it, but if you take the time to kind of retain those rules, this can be extremely atmospheric. It is a little weird though, because you are like it's like you do a lot of kind of work just to get Solomon to move,
Right.
but if you make it thematic where it's like, okay, like because Solomon Kane is like, I think at his core like a good guy, like he wants to do good things, but it's like story wise, or you have to kind of make it where it's like, okay, well, he sees someone in danger, he's gonna want to innately go help, and it's like, nope, that's the smaller picture. We got to focus on the big picture and do this thing, because it's like, yeah, you could go help that one person, but at the end of the day, you got to go defeat this big guy because it's going to cause a lot more deaths or something. But you could also go talk to the kid, like, so naturally he's going to want to start doing things on his own, but as virtues, you have to kind of control him and lead him on the right path. It's there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of story to this, and I think it's just done extremely uniquely. It's a really cool experience if you do take the time to jump on in it. So yeah, that's my number 51, Solomon Kane.
All right. Sounds interesting. All right. So my number 51 is an older game. It was 56 last year, and it was, around that same deal of years prior. This has been on my list since we've been doing this.
Okay.
And it came out in 2007. And it is Kingsburg.
Ooh, nice.
This is a wonderful game that stands the test of time. I know they've come out with the second edition, but the art of the second edition is not nearly as good. This is the version I have. Well, this is the version I have. So has the nice more the art style I like better. I know that if you have this version, then you had to have gotten the The Forgotten Realms expansion, I
To
believe is what it
I
was
thought it was to
called.
forge a realm.
The Forge Realm, that's what it was. Yeah, it's not Forgotten Realms. That's a whole other thing. But but yeah, to Forge a Realm expansion, you get separately with this. If you get the second edition, it comes with it. And that's an expansion that has modules that we've talked about multiple times. Modular expansions are good because you can pick and choose what you want to put into the game.
Hmm.
In this game takes place over 5 years. It's dice placement. So at the beginning of each phase, you're going to roll your 3 dice of your color, and then you're going to, in turn order, place dice down to influence advisors on the board, and then they will fire off from top to bottom and from high number to low number, and you get whatever resources there are. And that's
Hmm.
that phase. Then you go to a building phase where you can build on your part of your kingdom, and then you're going to go through the different seasons of the year, and then at the very end, when winter comes, you're going to get invaded by something, some sort of creature or barbarians or something, and you need to be able to defeat it. Ultimately, you're gaining victory points, um, and after 5 years, whoever has most victory points wins. Now, these modules, um, there's a few of them. I play with a handful of them because when you do the monster phase at the end of each year, it used to, if before the modules came out, like you'd go up on this military track, and then one person would roll a dice and everybody would move up on that track, and everybody would know, because whoever defeats the monsters the most gets a victory point. So it's
Yeah.
like, so there was no variation. If you were up by 3 and you rolled, then either you all failed, some of you failed, some of you, whatever. When you get these tokens now in the expansion that are numbered from 0 to 4, and you have to play one of them face down at that battle each winter, and then it's kind of a little bit of a hidden information thing, because then at the end of the game you'll have one of those chips left, and that's how many victory points you get added on. So if you can save that 4 until the very end, that's 4 victory points you have at the end added onto your
Yeah.
score. There's also the event deck. There's also that does stuff. Um, it's only happened to me once, but there's 2 cards in the event deck. One says the king is sick, because
Hmm.
you do this at the beginning of each year. But then if you pull that card a second time throughout the 5 years, and the game just automatically ends because the
Yeah.
king's dead.
It's like,
Because the
oh
king's
man, no
dead.
kingdom to defend anymore. Who cares?
Yeah. But and then there's also a one that I don't use as often, but there's also like can't remember what they call them now, but there was like a helper card. Like you'd get a card that would either be like the prince
Oh,
or something like that, that
yeah.
you had like an ability that you could use.
I think I've done that like once.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't care for that as much, but it's not a horrible thing. And then also one of the other really big add-ons is the strips of buildings. So like you can, because everybody has the same options of building on their player board, um, in the base game. Like everybody has the same stockyard, the same building chart. So
Yeah.
what the expansion adds also is these strips that customizes your board a little more, so you
Yeah.
can that way too. And it's just one of those games. This is a game that was, I dare to say it was ahead of its time a little bit. I mean, it was really popular there. It's still popular now. Dice placement is a thing that people enjoy.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a simple game, but yet it's strategic enough, to go through it. And like I said, it plays through 5 years, which ultimately ends up being 20 turns. Yeah, 20 rounds of influencing, because there's 4 seasons, 5 rounds. That's 20 times you're going to
Yeah.
roll your dice and place them, and it's just a really solid one that'll always be around, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually played this relatively recently, just kind of pulled me like, you know what? Let's just see if it still holds up. It
Hmm.
does.
Yeah.
It does. It's a good one. And I like the fact that it has dice mitigation for a game this old, like
Yep.
in 2007. 2007. Uh, it's like, thank you. I do like not just rolling dice and fucking hoping.
Yeah.
I would like to actually strategize.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like you spend all those tokens and you're like, dang it. Although
Well,
I think
and
I
then
can't
you
remember
can
those
also
tokens.
build. You can build for mitigation too, because like if
Mhm.
you one of the buildings you can build, like if your 3 dice are like 7 or lower total, then you can
Yeah,
re-roll them all.
that's right. Yep.
You know, so I mean, there's ways there in your building of your village that you can mitigate it as well. So there's multiple avenues.
Hmm. Yeah. No, this is a good one. It's not in my top 100 just because, I mean, it had to go
Yeah.
somewhere, but
Oh,
still in my collection.
or
Okay. Well, another fantastic segment rounding off the top 50 or the bottom 50, I guess. Now we are heading into the top 50 for the next one. Other than that, let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.